So we will also kind of facilitate and get some resource speakers to join us from time to time as well. So stay tuned. We will definitely update you via your email, your WhatsApp, and your communication platform that you are actually connected to us. Okay, cool. So this is the, we call it Developing HR Leaders of the Future, which I will share later. So we are actually recruiting, or we are getting the cohort 1. A little bit of myself, I'm the founder and also CEO of TraitQuest. I'm also the OD manager and HR manager for Lavin Shared Service, which is a shared service center. So why am I doing so many things? So I know your pain better. So a lot of times where a lot of our clients actually say, you're on the other side of the fence, right? We don't know your pain and so on. So hence I sacrifice myself and I do more, right? I feel your pain now. It's not easy, I know. So we will get to that shortly, of course. But what TraitQuest is, we are a tech and solution provider, but we also do advisory on organizational development and technology. So we are marrying the enablement of technology plus the people side. So what has been a passion for all of us here at TraitQuest, as the name suggests, we like to understand people as from a trait perspective, or some of you may say personality, and also how can these be building our future leader, be it your talent, be it yourself for self-development, becoming a HRBP. That's why it's called a Level Up HR session. So let's talk a little bit on introduction today. Today we will cover a lighter version. Last week we had a sharing session, so compiling some feedbacks from our audience, which is you guys. We wanted to have more dialogue rather than not so heavy, right? Because I know many of you are tuning in from a different environment. You may be not very conducive. So we want to also give you different content that you can bring back to your workplace. So let's talk a little bit about today. I think the traffic has been back to normal since 1st of July. So we know that currently most of the RMCO, I think it's kind of looks like no more RMCO. And next 2 weeks, I think most parents, congratulations, your nightmare is finally over. Everyone's going back to school, right? And I think on the 22nd, then every kind of all ages of students will be back to school. So you can focus on what you do best rather than babysitting. I know that's the pain. But current world impact, we're looking at all this that's happening in the world. And I think what's important, why we want to bring this up in the perspective of what HR role now, what can we do better? What else are we going to help the, loosen the impact from the people perspective, from the business perspective? So this is also the Malaysia, I think the list goes on. I heard that Zara, if you guys are into shopping, Zara closed down 1,200 shops. H&M closed down about 100 shops. So there will be a lot of discounts on all these fashion apparels, right? Not to say I'm encouraging shopping. And hotels as well. So these are the bigger impacts that we see on the news, right? So what HR had been working on up till now is that we try not to do what we call layoff, right? Our session, if you have not been following us, previous session, we started talking about laying off decision. Not to suggest that you would want to, but what other alternatives before exhausting into laying off? So things like benefit cut, pay cut, allowance cut, freeze hiring, even implementing VSS and MSS. Interestingly, the company that I'm currently doing OD for, I think it's a very plus point for them. They have about 200 staff. They have not done any pay cut. They have not done any laying off. They have not done any holidays, kind of cutting off your leave, and making that sort of adjustment. So I think it's really a kudos to them that they have been maintaining during this MCO period. Of course, if you're interested to know, probably we can also chat a little bit more about it. Okay, so what HR can do more before the layoff, right? I think laying off decision is also about cost cutting to make sure the business survive. But at the same time, we need to include the humane or the empathetic side. So some of suggestion we always encourage our counterpart in HR is to look into things like outplacement, working with clients, suppliers, supply chain. Probably they are hiring. They may need more extra helps, right? There are communities in the tech sector where Southeast Asia, we actually have a Google Sheet. All the startups actually place who are they firing, what are the talents that they are laying off, and who are hiring, what are the talent they need. So I think it's about helping each other to survive through this chaotic tsunami of economic meltdown that we are looking at, right? But at the same time also, that was also an employer branding, because when the economy expected to be a V shape, when it recovers next year, you will be looking at a challenge when people start browsing social apps, social media about your company. So employer branding is one thing that I believe from a younger generation perspective, this is super, super important. So I encourage you to actually take note and look into that from a bigger picture perspective. That is what we want actually all the HR to look into. I think our guest speakers later on can share more. We also talk about a little bit of what HRDF has actually helped out or has just concluded the program. We are also helping, we are not HRDF, but we are helping them to actually make this program successful. But this topic of discussion will also be in our breakout rooms later. So this is like a little bit of teaser, right? So what does TraitQuest does, right? What do we do after knowing that we are, here for in the market as so long? By the way, we have been in the market for 3 years now. We have started since 2017. So we focus into 3 pillars. So the first pillar, we call it advisory solutions, because we do more than consulting. We actually get our hands dirty. We go into your organization, do a diagnostic, run and understand deeper problems that you're facing. And our specialization is actually on younger generations. So if you have a younger generation problem, come to us. We can always help out or respond to your SOS signal. The next segment is trade assessment and talent analysis. That's how our name, our company background came about. It's called TraitQuest. It's a quest to search for your trades, right? The third part of the equation is the digital HR software or the tech solution and gamification. So during this time, we also have a lot of clients started to look into coaching programs. So gamification is one solution you can use as a measurement, as a tracking, as a progress to look into that. All right. So last part of our introduction is we focus into organizational development. So these are our focus area. So we just want to make sure that our audience out there who has been following us loyally, so you know what we do. So what help do you need that you can think about us, right? So thank you for the introduction time for me, right? So what's next I want to also share with you is that we have a community set up for this purpose called Level Up HR Community. So currently it's an open group where you can actually engage with our resource speakers. We will share a lot of templates. We will share whatever SOS you need. So this is a community-driven initiatives. So any problem, any discussion that you want, you can discuss among yourself. It's a very open community, right? So we want to build this to help HR to understand and see what are their potential to help businesses go next. Also not forgetting that we are live on Facebook. So for those of you who join us in Facebook, thank you very much. We will engage you as much as we can. If you would like to, we also encourage you to come and join us on Zoom session, because later on we will have a breakout rooms and there are more discussion going through, and I don't want you to miss out too much. So without further ado, you see me a lot now. Let's talk about a little bit on our speaker. So today we have 2 great speakers that has been very supportive. that actually, support us when we mention this initiative that we want to do. And when we just texted them or we call them and then they said, yes, let's do it. They have been very, very helpful, and also I would use the word mentor. They mentor us to understand it better, because we are here to learn as well, all of us, right? So today we have Peter Law. He's the executive coach, HR and OD strategist. Next person is Francesca Ma. She's the head of HR Selangor Dredging Berhad. I think what I'll do is probably I open up to Peter to do a short introduction before we go into our program today. Peter?
Oh, hi.
Hi, Peter.
Thanks for the intro. I'm very excited to be here again to share a little bit of what I used to do and what are some of the things that I think will be able to add some values, hopefully. And in a sense of time that we should not dwell too much into ourselves, but it's more of what we are going to share later. So I pass it on to Francisca to just say a few words, and then we get into things in proper.
Francesca, you're up.
Hi everyone, my name is Francesca. I'm the head of HR in Selangor Dredging. Well, working experience wise, I've got 30 over years. Oops, I'm not supposed to tell my age, right? Anyway, I'll leave Leo to get on with it. You'll get to know me as we speak. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the great introduction. So let's go on today for our session. We call it the HR dialogue. So we want to make it very light. We want to look into two topics and three key words. All right. So first topic is what initiatives you have done during MCO. So obviously we have two great HR leaders here. We want to know more insights from them. We want to hear from them what have they been doing. Well, can be personal or can be at work. What sort of initiative that they implemented for a company to actually survive through this MCO, right? The next question is we want to look at what's next for HR in the new normal. I know from a traffic perspective, and also if you go for a dine at the mall, most of it is like kind of back to normal. I think most of us don't feel a difference anymore. And also to add on, the numbers has been in a single digit, which is very good. Congratulations to our government or our health ministry that has done a great job on that. So, but I believe the whole thing is still considered new normal, that we have come back from a long working from home, culture, and also some of the things that we want to understand more from our panelists. We will look into three things called insight, anticipation, and impact. So what are the insights there is? What are we going to anticipate? And what are the impacts that we are definitely foreseeing coming soon, right? So let's actually start by maybe getting Peter to share. So what initiatives, during this MCO that personally or even from a company perspective, you want to share with our audience and also on Facebook?
Right. Thank you, Leo. This question is actually has been asked by many to me for I don't know how many 100 times. And the truth is, a lot of time that people start looking at the HR processes, but I would like to take a back seat and focus on one very, very key point here is redefining the HR leadership. That I'm going to talk about Malaysian context. I don't want to go into very far difference from where we are. Let's refocus on the reality that we are facing here. In fact, the MCO has created an opportunity for HR leaders. It's like a moment of truth. Many HR leaders that I connected with over the years have felt that, somewhat the business have forgotten about the HR importance of HR role. So when the MCO was enacted by the government, out of blue moon, everything sits on the HR shoulder. And it was, I was honestly, I was very delighted to see many of the HR leaders suddenly pivot and they become like the go-to person for the company. So it's really defining the roles and the values that they are bringing in. Now, having said so, I also easily say 70 to 80% of the HR leaders who were very much going through a very intense period of time where they basically juggle not only work, family, but it's also the new environment and the new expectation on them, because it seems like the whole company shoulder is they are shouldering the whole company situations that they are going through. As it's like two person holding it is the CEO or the founder of the company and the HR leaders. And I see a lot of stress, and many of them are crying to say that, I really need a weekend chill out. But in fact, if you remember, many of the announcements done by the ministry or MKN was during the public holidays or the weekends. And when the announcement is made, the HR leader will be running scattered to, trying to fix, because the bosses will start calling them, and, things are just not as easy as, you are not in the driving seat to control everything that is coming your way. Yeah. So I thought redefining the HR leadership was something that I observe, and I personally have experienced it, because my bosses start calling me and say, I need this. And it's like, everything I need is yesterday. The due date was yesterday, not today, not tomorrow or not tonight. It's everything is yesterday. When do you need it, boss? Yeah, I need it yesterday. I need it right now. So yeah, maybe I'll leave the second question later. I'll like to hear from others as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. I think what's interesting, we have during the MCO period, this has been a constant answer, not only from you, I think from a lot of HR. Suddenly, yes, they became the center of attention, right? They became the go-to person. And I think probably also most organizations are not prepared, not preparing the HR in situations like that, right? Because HR has been known in a lot of companies, just do what you're told, right? You may not be in that business picture. We also understand a lot of HR are just quietly, when needed, then you are there. When not needed, you may be forgotten, right? In bigger companies, when there's a lot of employees, I heard or even we understand that only when you step into the job on your first day, orientation, and the last day, when you quit for exit interview, you've seen the HR, right? Other days, even if you spend 3 years there, you don't even know who is your HR. So I think that's a very sad thing that's going on. I think the stepping up of HR is very, very important now. I learned from Peter earlier conversations that CHRO are actually very high paying. Maybe perhaps one of the highest paying position as well, because I think that is also one thing from a career progression side, you guys want to start to understand and look into. Your role is becoming more and more important and serious. I think that's one. The other thing is we have done an unofficial survey. There's about 100 companies from different industry from 2 countries, which is Singapore and Malaysia. We realized that actually most HR don't really enjoy the working from home during this time, because for a simple fact, bosses are holding them during the day and HR only can do the job during the night. So I want to open this up to Francesca, because I know definitely you also face the same similar situations, correct? Can you share a bit? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Leo. Yeah, we do encounter a lot of problems because I think this is something that is so unexpected. However, I don't think I want to dwell into like remote working, you know, working from home and all that, because I think a lot of speakers have already done that. I'd like to cover the part about preparing to go back to work, because like Leo said, my company is one of those that did not have pay cut, did not have benefits and all taken away from staff. So in order to support the company, I have to try and get the company up and running to earn back the money to be able to continue to pay the staff, you know. So that's part of my role. And what we did was the announcement was made on the 1st of May that we can actually start CMCO on the 4th of May and go back to work. And immediately within that 3 days, we had to prepare without going into the office. And almost 100% of our staff started work except for those who had no babysitter because of no childcare available. And even then, that's only for 2 weeks and we are 100%. So I'd like to share a little bit about what we did. And I can sum it up to 3 things. One is plan. Planning is very important. We spent the first 3 days actually planning because we couldn't go into the office. And then we prepare what we planned. We check stock and all that. And we only had 3 hours in the office before everybody else came in. Our office official hour was 8 a.m. and the staff were granted till 10 a.m. to come into work. So we went in at 7 o'clock and did everything we need to for the social distancing and preparation, and got everything up and running by 8 o'clock. No, not 8 o'clock, sorry, 10 o'clock. So that's why planning is very important. And of course, the third thing will be postmortem. Because we didn't have, how would I say, we didn't have a trial. We couldn't trial it because we had to straight away go there, do that, and get it up and running. There are always a little bit of hiccup here and there that we need to fix. Things that we didn't think of when we planned, we had to go and fix. So what are the things that we needed to plan? Firstly is, of course, the seating arrangement. Most offices don't have that 1 to 1.5 meter distancing. So we had to push further. We had to leave some seats empty. We had to move computers. So I worked very closely with my IT manager to get all these seating arrangements done up. The second thing that we had to do is meeting rooms. Although it was supposed to have social distancing, we know that the style of our top management is they like to see the people when they talk to them. So they are not really into Zoom meetings. So we had to make sure that meeting rooms are in order with the proper social distancing in order to make sure we meet the requirements of the government. In the meantime, during planning, we were also like checking out for government regulations, what is new, and everything is so uncertain because the announcement is made, but there's no SOP that has been officially announced. We just took whatever that we could and just worked on it. And of course, we also had to work on the pantry and other common areas to make sure that there's proper social distancing, there's proper markings. We put chairs where they are supposed to. We had to label all the places that they are not supposed to do. You know, all these manual things that it may sound very simple, but when you start planning, then you realize, oh no, I can't put everybody in, you know. And during normal days, not many people will eat in the pantry, but because of MCO, everybody is packing from home and you suddenly have to start scheduling makan times, you know, and you have to tell them, I'm sorry, you cannot sit in the pantry for the whole hour like before. Can you do it in, let's say, like 20 minutes? And if you want to chat, you find another place to chat, you know, and we had to open up meeting rooms for people to eat. so that, you know, we could cater and still make sure there's proper social distancing. And of course, the key things for hygiene, like masks, hand sanitizers, soap, cleaning, disinfectant, and thermometer, and all that sort of stuff, we had to check whether we had them, we had enough, where to place them, how to get things ready, how, you know, get the table, how is it, we do an Excel spreadsheet table with all the names there for every floor, and to put down, and then we have to have a declaration form. All these, like, all the pre-work can be done at home when we were preparing. And of course, there were things that we already prepared beforehand. That means we knew that masks and all that will be very low in stock by the time we get back to work. So we managed to pre-order them, and they arrived before MCO was over. We were pretty lucky with that. And so once even during that time when we were preparing, we already started preparing SOPs. We had to do up SOPs, the hygiene guidelines, the social distancing guidelines, everything that is required by the government needs to be done properly. So that's pretty much my experience. A lot of things have to be very hands-on. Even as a head of HR, I had to direct them, because I was the only one lucky enough to have worked with large and medium corporates, and I was in the crisis management team. So therefore, I more or less had the opportunity of trialing it before, so I roughly knew what to do, whereas the others didn't really have the opportunity to do it. So I was pretty lucky in that sense. So that's all from me, Leo.
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah, I think that was the most challenging part of that time. First of all, like what Peter mentioned, anticipating when the government will make the next announcement, because they have been doing 2 weeks. So it's like, oh, we thought we are opening soon. No, okay, another 2 weeks. And then again, the opening soon. No, another 2 weeks. So that has posed great challenges, that we keep on anticipating that we'll be opening, then we can get back to work and we can make all arrangement that we need to. But no, then it's another 2 weeks. And at last, of course, 4 weeks at one go, right? So I think that part was the challenge part in terms of time. The other part that Francesca mentioned, I would call it, maybe if you don't mind, call it operational challenge, right? Making sure that, you know, everyone is back from the business perspective, is running again, but also to make sure that everyone has proper hygiene factors that's in place, you know, distancing that is in place, and also the SOP and guidelines, just in case, you know, anything that's going to happen. I mean, let's not say that being fined by the government, but also about making sure that everyone is, you know, being taken care of, correct? So I just want to also find, I mean, a little bit one more big topic question about this is, what would be the challenges, you know, from the people's perspective? What Francesca has shared is very operational, from, you know, setting all that. But what about, you know, from your whole companies? I know the HODs, they want face-to-face, but what about your, you know, staff or your colleagues, your other team members? What are the challenges?
Well, for me, I think the challenge is when you are doing your planning and you're working from home, you don't see your staff. So a lot of things have to be done via either Zoom meetings, WhatsApp group calls, or videos, or just a phone call. And that kind of sometimes is difficult to explain or instruct things, especially when it's something new that they don't know what to do. So trying to implement something brand new over the phone, I find it pretty challenging. It's difficult to get them to understand what you want when they can't really imagine what you want.
Yeah, I think most of the questions that's being asked by the participant, because when you all registered, we actually get inputs from you. We also recognize that the challenges faced was how do you engage, correct? First of all, we heard a lot of interesting activities like, doing, in fact, last week, I believe, I'm not sure if she did join us, but last week someone shared that they want to, engage activities like virtual gym or virtual exercising or virtual cooking and virtual things like that. So I think the conclusion that time when we have was not everyone wanted to participate in that. But of course, during this time, everyone suddenly become a good chef, right? Everyone started cooking. I think in the fraternity of HR, we are all sharing our recipes, right?
Yeah, I can imagine that. Including one of my ex-colleagues. He's an engineer. He start cooking all sort of dish every single day. Not one dish, two dish. The Malay chap, I got to laugh, and I text him personally. I said, "Bro, are you sure you boleh makan tak?" Then he said, "My mother want to vomit already." But he still every day still cook a new dish. So
I started
amazing.
baking bread.
Wow, Jimmy,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good.
So side business can start sharing with
No,
us.
it's for my own, family's consumption.
Okay. Someday we should get together and savor the bread as well.
Yeah, so I think that was the highlight or the fun part of it. But at the same time is that the challenges from HR, I believe the innovation was there. All of us have that creative, we want to do this virtual, do that virtual. But the challenge, why I want to bring this up is the participation, correct? We're having a hard time, maybe even to a more serious topic, managing performance, right? So how was this being managed, and how can we kind of have a better, what's the experience like, managing performance in general or even engagement virtually? Peter, maybe you first.
All right, happy to share a little. From the HR angle, when we were looking at being a head of talent and OD, my focus has always been what is the business impact. I don't typically enjoy activities. So any activities that can boost morale, boost productivity, or boost the overall happiness index, I'm all for it. But if just activity for the sake of activity, just like a lot of organizations, it comes to, hey, we have nothing much to do, can you go and do a training? That's not the way that we should be running the organization. It has to be directly linked to the business, because if it is no business impact, you can go to the boss and say, I want to spend don't even have to mention in thousands. It can be, I want to spend 300 ringgit for this. The bosses will look at you and then, what is the return of investment that you are going to get from me? So they are not interested in talking about all these things. So let's not go into the area of activities. But as a HR, as a OD persons, what you need to start looking at it is really working in collaborations with the business leaders, and how you are able to work on some looking into the employee issues as to what are people concerned about. Because essentially, if everyone are having a concern, but we don't help them to resolve some of the concern or ambiguities, then in their mind may not be 100% focused on the work. But if you are able to, like Francisca, your company has done a marvelous job and say, folks, we are not cutting anyone, we are not cutting any salary. We also not cutting the benefit. We want you to be very focused on the work. And these are very rare company. Interestingly, these are Malaysian company, and I must hats off for this leaders who has put in so much of convictions to ensure that Malaysians are selling through this MCO or this pandemic with a clean slate. But the truth is, a lot of organizations would do a little bit here, a little bit there, in terms of trying to resizing their or reposition the cost aspects of it. Now, from the HR leaders, we need to come in and able to provide them with a sense of balancing between the the business aspirations and also people's experience, which are the employees, what are the concerns, what are the issues that they are facing. So you are able to bring the business leaders and these align these two thoughts together, then people have more peaceful mind to just basically focus on the work. And that itself, it will bring a lot of what I call it certainty, that people do not just sit there physically looking at you and say, boss, yes, I'm here, but then it's not productive. So the productivity has to view it from various angles. It's just not an angle where literally the persons are seen in the office. Mind you, a lot of what we call presentism, because their mind is wandering off and say, hey, my daughter or my kids is at home, and I don't have people, or could be looked after by their neighbors. Neighbors, they have their own other issues and things like that. So as a leaders, we need to be able to understand this. And the business leaders, sometimes they fail to see this. So it is the role of HR has to pivot and start connecting these two very vast world of parts of dichotomies that they are facing.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Because of time, so I want to go on to the next question that most of us here really want to find out more. So what's next for HR in the new normal, right? We actually predict or we foresee that we are not in the worst case now, but in August and September, or next few months, there will be a worst that's coming. So as HR, I think like what Francesca has mentioned earlier, we want to be prepared. Again, if there's a next worst, it could be worse of economy, it could be worse of anything, right? So what's next for HR in the new normal, right, Francesca?
Okay, for me, I think a lot of smaller companies are not prepared. Even the large companies, they may have a crisis management team, they have a business continuity plan, all in writing. And this is the first time we actually had to activate it in such a large scale. So I think moving forward, one of the things, especially for smaller companies, would be to make sure that you have a proper business continuity plan, as in you make sure that you have somebody appointed officially to take the role of leading that committee, and make sure that you work with all your heads of departments to come up with all your critical processes and all the positions, which are the critical positions. And you need to put it by a duration, example, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. And then you have to set up your call tree. I'm not sure whether you know about that, but that's a topic in detail where if you want to talk about business continuity plan. So you need to set everything up for the next round, or whether it is something of this proportion or just individually as a company, so that at least you know that, okay, whatever it is, this still needs to keep going. For example, for HR, if it's a 1 day, 1 day critical process, it definitely won't be a payroll, because payroll we can wait. We have a certain duration to pay. But if it is a 1 month, we definitely have to include payroll, because this is the time when people really need the money, and we must make sure that there is money going into the staff's account. So this is just an example. And the other thing is crisis management. This is something which is part of BCP, but not really only BCP. So crisis management in my company, for the internal crisis management, is definitely led by HR. For the external crisis management is both by HR as well as corporate comms. So we need to know, like, we need to prepare holding statements. We need to know what to communicate with staff so that it doesn't scare them. We need to know what to communicate in our Facebook to the public. All these things are very, very important to plan and prepare. If you do it very last minute, should there be any emergencies, it's going to be like all haphazard. You'll probably miss out some key things, and things will not go very well, especially for your company branding.
Yeah, I think that is something that most of us may not have that it slipped our mind to even consider that whatever actions that we're taking now or even before or soon, it has a very bad consequences that will unfold, later on, right? I think branding is one. When let's say now is the time where all of us are consolidating, we are doing what we can to keep ourselves survive from a company perspective, but what happens next? So I think what Francesca mentioned in terms of the duration of it, right? Expecting it to come, I think it definitely probably not COVID, right? It could be an economical impact. A little bit political. I think most of us, if you have not tuned into news lately, there's some tension around the world now between the biggest two countries. Actually, I'll not name which, right? So how would this kind of impacted us from a smaller scale country, right? I think that sort of things need to really start thinking. We also need to kind of sit in as an advice to advise our management or our bosses that these are the things going to unfold, right? And it will be having a dominoes effect if we do not plan and take it into seriously. So I think that would be kind of the impact that we're looking at. And of course, I really love what Francesca mentioned about core three. That will be very important as well, so that especially HR was swarmed in the center of this whole dilemma during the past few months. So what's next? What's coming next? I think that is also some serious thoughts and conversation that we want to look into. So I don't want to take much of our time on this session because we have other things going on. We want to also break us up shortly into a different breakout rooms that will be facilitated by a few of us. So probably smaller session all of us can share. I think sometimes we may be a little bit shy, right? Before moving on to that, we want to also understand a little bit more of your challenge. So we just want to start off by launching this short poll, just one question, right? So how would you define your current role in human resource, human capital? Can we understand a little bit more from you? Just help us to answer this. Yeah, it should be very quick. Then we will go into our breakout rooms. So thank you very much for the first person, second person, fourth person to answer that. So for those of you, are you still with us? Please answer the poll. Thank you for 52%, which is more than half of you who has already responded. Can the rest also just respond to this poll? Can we have 100%? So some of you may have been not paying attention, just logging in. 14, all right, that's 66%. So there are 7 more. Can you all just finish up this poll so we can move into breakout rooms? %, 15 of you. Anyone last leg of it? Yeah, I think 6 of you may not just want to answer, but it's all right. So we will end the poll. So there are 70, oh, okay, 16. Thank you very much. The last vote. So there are 21 of you. I would say most of you are in employer branding, recruitment, talent acquisition. That comprises 69%. 56%, the next will be training, development, and talent management. So there are only about 50% of you are employee engagement, and the rest compensation and benefit. Thank you very much. So what's next is we want to now go into a breakout room. For those of you first time joining a breakout room, we have prepared a step-by-step guide. So basically, we will start soon by launching the breakout room. You just click it to join and you wait for it to load. And after that, then leaving the breakout room, of course, this is a 15-minute session. So this is how you can leave the breakout room. Please return to the main session because we will have more discussion after the breakout room. So we will remain at the main room just in case anyone has any technical challenge. Before we launch you all out, these are some questions or some guidelines we hope that you in your breakout room can also discuss. So the first thing is we are looking at the HR challenges in the new normal on workforce management. And the second will be what HR had done during MCO. So you can take a snapshot of this picture. Of course, each breakout room will have a facilitator will actually facilitate. Feel free to share. That's not recorded, just to let you all know. So we will see you back in 15 minutes. So let's launch the breakout room, please.
Oops, I didn't manage to get the screenshot in my breakout rooms. I was trying to do that and then suddenly come out here. But never mind, it's okay. Now is a great sharing session definitely for all the breakout rooms. Hopefully everyone can learn a piece of tool and even the brainstorm session on what are the new HR ideas as well. So I would love to pass back the platform to Leo now to continue with the summary and take away.
Yeah, I think the last week when we run it, we only set 12 minutes. So most of our participants told us not enough time. So this round we have actually longer minute. It was 25 minutes. So I hope everyone actually benefited from the session. Before I go into the final summary, maybe let's hear a little bit from the other rooms. Maybe I know we split it that Peter is one, Francesca one
Okay,
room.
I will share. I'll share
Yeah.
my group. We have quite an amazing group there. Looks like in the group that I was in, I don't know whether you split it according to their business model or what.
Random.
No business actually literally suffer and literally have to rejig the workforce in terms of numbers. So the business as usual productivity will not really suffer, and a lot of more of knowledge workers. So knowledge workers, you operate anywhere. It's not bound by location, and the bosses are a lot more open to allow them to work from home. Yeah, so many are still working from home as well, or they take the instruction and then go and work somewhere somewhere else. They are tech company as well. So in a nutshell, I would like to just say that it's just adapting to the different situations and practicing. Sometimes you may not be able to get it over, but what the sharing was very rich, that everybody have similar practices. We have one participant from Philippines where the hotels actually house the kitchen staff and the waiter in the hotels while the room are not fully occupied, and they even have a Ministry of Health individual. The authority have stationed one person in the hotel to monitor the people don't go and flop the so-called the guidelines. Even interesting.
Oh, I think it's very good that we are seeing a very positive vibe.
Yeah.
Francesca, what about your group?
For my group, I think there are two things that came out quite strongly, which is no approvals for recruitment. And also for recruitment, they seem to have some problems getting a proper JD from the line managers. Basically, I think also the key thing that came up quite strongly is managing the line managers.
Okay, you may engage Francesca to write the JD for you.
Yeah, pretty straightforward for me. And the other thing that we discussed was setting KPIs. Like what moving forward for the next 6 months. Like for my company, we're doing a lot of cost cutting measures in order to continue paying the staff salary and benefits. So like Peter says, you can't do everything and have everything. So we do have to manage down costs. So that's one of them.
Thanks, Francesca. So a little bit from our group, we were actually, I was very happy that actually someone from our group was logging in from office. So she has to excuse for a phone call and something like that. But we managed to actually have very good key takeaway that I think some initiatives that's being run. We also learned that property was doing very good during MCO. So no problem on selling, because during that time, I think a lot of people have more time to understand, to look at it. The other key takeaway, yeah, I know. The other key takeaway from our group is also there are a lot of initiatives that probably in the future or in the next 6 months, working from home may be another option for as a practice, because they find that there are more productivities. They are managing performance wasn't an issue. They are very the expectation was very good. So I think it's very interesting. Of course, we wish to have more time, but I appreciate everyone joining now. So let's respect everyone's time. So the summary for today, the key takeaway we separate to 3 parts. The first part is from Francesca and Peter. We're looking at redefining HR leadership in Malaysian context. Okay, we call it the 5R. Reinventing the workforce planning. So a lot of things being shared by Francesca on planning. Not only workforce planning, of course, but planning. How do you want to manage during crisis, your business continuity plan? What are the crisis management prepared for it, right? Re-engaging the people, rebooting the productivity, and last but not least, rethinking about employee experience. I know we didn't touch much about this part, which we will save for our next session, but these are the 5R. I think we can all share it with the rest of you that you can bring back to the office and start looking into that. The operational takeaway, of course, is more about planning earlier, planning effectively, moving the workplace, considering on the hygiene part. Let's not, I know the numbers are low, we should be positive and all that, but let's keep doing what we're doing for the safety and also for not having a rebound of COVID. This is an advice, because if you look at other countries, there are rebounds of sign of bouncing back. So let's keep it that way. Let's keep what we are doing, the distance. I think all these are great SOPs. Malaysia is in top 5 in this prevention. So I think let's continue the effort, you know, setting the meeting room space, the guideline, the SOPs, and of course, more on the hands-on. We also touch a little bit on the technological because of remote. So there are some onboarding solutions now starts to be online, e-learning, digital learning. I think a lot of things being shared from learning part, engaging digitally, managing performance virtually, and some performance productivity tools, right? So if I may just go on to the last but not least is encouraging everyone to join us for our next prelude, which is on 25th July. This will be a half-day session. What we hope to achieve from this outcome is to look into 3 things. Developing your first step to HRBP. Know that in my group, there are one or two HRBP. I think what are the business HR competency? How can we step up and level up in this area? Accelerate your HR with talent analysis and data. So we want to be more data driven. I think one challenge most HR has is to talk data or talk business sense to our management, to our boss. We want to be humanizing all this part, but at the same time, we cannot ignore that this is very important. Last but not least, equipping employer branding into business HR strategies and more to come. So we just want to highlight these are the key few areas that we are sharing on 25th July. Next week, we will have another preview sessions like this. It's a very short session. We hope you guys can join us again. Get your friends to join. I think this is a good timing. Although many of you are multitasking between collecting parcels and all that, I think that is fine as long as we are able to shape this community. Speaking of that, please join our Level Up HR community. Go into our Facebook group. This group is created especially for you. We will communicate any other materials that you need, any guideline, SOPs if you need it. Just feel free to shout out in the group. I think all of us are here more than happy to help. Yes,
if I may suggest that, put the link into the chat group so that people can just click and connect straight to the page from the Facebook group.
Yes, please. So while maybe Brendan or Zimin can do that. Okay. Last but not least, before all of you go, can we have a group photo? Before all of us forgot, just this one moment, everyone please turn on your video camera. Other time, if you are hiding behind, it's okay. But just this one moment, let's all turn on the camera and let's take a group photo. Thank you very much. Is everyone ready? Thank you all for joining us from various places, of course, including.
We got more to come in.
Leo, you have to stop sharing your screen. There only we have the.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So yes, let's take a group photo, everyone. Let's have a bigger smile that you have. It's like winning a lottery or getting promotions that you deserve. Let's have the awesome smile that everyone has. That smile is actually the best skill around the whole world itself, right? So are we ready, everyone? Are you ready?
Cool.
Great, great. Right. So I'm taking in 3, 2, 1. All right. Another one, maybe freestyle. Let's have a freestyle. All right. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Okay. Great. Thank you so much, everyone.
You're going to send us the photos, right?
Yeah, I will send you the photos, and I will actually post those photos on our groups and links and everything. So no worries.
And the invitation for the next session, right?
Right. Yep. We will do that as well. We will actually put a link after. We will put the along in the email. We will actually send to all our participants. When
By the way,
and everything.
By the way, folks, if you want to connect on the LinkedIn, just look for me, Peter Law, and we'll connect there. I saw one of our very important person here. Let me just bring him out for 30 seconds.
Lawrence.
Lawrence. He's one of the very, very seasoned HR directors in town and done a lot of great work. Lawrence, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Peter.
And thank you all to all the participants for staying back and also following us. So we shall create more content, more richer presenter and facilitator to really get this up. Thank you all. Have a great
see you all
Friday.
See you all next Friday.
Drink, go to enjoy, go to
Thank you.
Happy baking bread for me.
Okay, happy birthday.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Ginny. Thanks,
Welcome.
Javier. Thanks, Chin. Thanks, Aaron. We have 2 Ginny here, by the way. One is Ginny Lim and the other one is Ginny Liu. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nazari.
Bye.
Thanks, Ku. Thanks, Angel. Thanks, RM. Thanks, Esther. And last but not least, thanks, Winnie.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.